Good morning, dear students. Let's begin our social science class. It's my third lecture on the chapter Federalism, and our today's topic will be how is federalism practiced. Now, this is an important question itself, that how is federalism practiced in a country like India. Constitutional provisions are necessary for the success of federalism, but these are not sufficient. Means if the laws are made, that is good at some extent, but not sufficient. If the federal experiment has succeeded in India, it is not merely because of clearly laid our constitutional provisions. The real success of federalism in India can be attributed to the nature of democratic politics in our country. How the democracy distributed among our country and how the politics is there, on that also federalism has a major impact. This ensured that the spirit of federalism, respect for diversity, desire for living together become a shared ideals in our country. Let us look at some of the major ways in which this happened. Now first we discuss about the linguistic states. So the creation of linguistic states was first and a major test for democratic country. Now we talk about the linguistic meaning. So here the states, these are linguistic states which created our country, was first of the major success, and it was also a test for the democratic politics to be practiced in our country. If you look at the political map of India, when it began its journey as a democracy in 1947 and that of 2013, now this book has been updated 2013, but over here you can see is 2019. So it can be your choice, whatever its book is updated, according to that you can see. You will be surprised by the extent of changes. Many old states have been vanished and many new have been created. Now we saw that many of the union territories in the latest, also in the political map, we see many union territories are formed and many old states have been vanished. Areas, boundaries and names of states also have been changed. In 1947, the boundaries of several old states of India were changed in order to create new states. So at that time, the boundaries of many states, old states which were there, as we saw in our previous historic map, these were changed, and now we see the India map totally different. This was done to ensure that people who spoke the same language lived in the same state. So it was according to the regional division that should be done among the country like India. Some states were created not on the basis of language but to recognize difference based on culture, ethnicity or geography. These include states like Nagaland, Uttarakhand and Jharkhand. So these were the major states which we see in our country, and here how these are newly formed because of the regional diversities, and to accommodate such large regional diversities in our country like India, it was a need to form such states. So actually it was formation of the linguistic states. When the demand for the formation of the states on the basis of language was raised, some national leaders feared that it would lead to disintegration of country. So when it was asked that separate states would be formed, that time the national leaders were of worry, but the experience has shown that the formation of linguistic states has actually made the country more united. It has also made the administration easier. So as more states are formed, that time central government and state government have clear-cut division of powers, and state governments are formed more, and here central government power that is to be implied, the burden decreases. Now we will see the next topic, that is the language policy. Now first we see that to practice federalism in our country, we need a formation of linguistic states. Now we see linguistic, I think you have understood the meaning, that is the basis of the regional diversity. To accommodate it, we use linguistic state term. Second is the language policy for the establishment of federalism in our country. A second test for Indian Federation is the language policy. Our constitution did not give the status of national language to any one language. Hindi was identified as the official language, but Hindi is mother tongue of only about 40% of Indians. Means 40% Indians speak Hindi. Earlier it was as official language. Therefore there were many safeguards to protect other languages besides Hindi. There are 21 other languages recognized as scheduled languages by the constitution of our India. A candidate in an examination conducted for the central government positions may opt to take the examination in any of these languages. Now whether it is his choice, his or her choice, that in which type of language he need to give the paper. So we do not say now that Hindi is official language. That is also one of the major thing of federalism, that no one is given some special priority in case of language also. Much of the government work takes place in the official language of the concerned state. Unlike Sri Lanka, the leaders of country adopted a very cautious attitude in spreading the use of Hindi. According to constitution, the use of English for official purpose was to stop in 1965. That was because foreign language. However, many non-Hindi speaking states demanded that the use of English English continue. In Tamil Nadu, the movement took a violent form. The central government responded by agreeing to continue the use of English along with Hindi for official purposes. Means English was also declared as official languages. Many critics think that this solution favored the English speaking elite. Promotion of Hindi continues to be official policy of the government of India. Promotion does not mean that the central government can impose Hindi on states where people speak a different language. The flexibility shown by Indian political leaders help our country avoid the kind of situation that Sri Lanka find itself in. We saw how there the Sinhalese dominate over the other Tamils, Sri Lankan and Indian Tamils, but here it is not like that. The government continue to promote Hindi, but it is not like that it has been forcefully implemented on the states where the people are not able to speak Hindi. They are having their own freedom to speak their own languages. So that is why the second federation test is the language policy. The third federation test is the center-state relations. Restructuring the center-state relation is one more way in which federalism has been strengthened in the practice. How the constitutional arrangement for sharing power work in reality depend to a large extent on how the ruling parties and leaders follow these arrangements. This is an important task of ruling parties children, that they need to follow the laws which are given in constitution, and the way they follow the law will avoid the disputes among the people. For a long time, the same party ruled both the center and in most of the states. Like we say, any one of the party, it is ruling as a central government as well as a state government. This meant that the state government did not exercise their rights as the autonomous federal units because it was along in the single party. So they are not having their own units, or they cannot exercise their own federal units. As and when the ruling party at the state level was different, the parties that rule at the center tried to undermine the power of states, because when a single party is ruling over both central as well as state government, so the state government will be automatically suppressed. In those days, the central government would often misuse the constitution to dismiss the state government that were controlled by rival parties, and this undermined the spirit of federalism. So that was also one of the thing. If a party is forming a central government and another party is forming the state government, obviously central government is going to dominate over those state government, as it is the different party or its opponent party. All this changed significantly after 1990s. In today's era, we see that there is no such domination among and no such dispute among the central and state government if they are belonging to different political parties. You can take our current situation. This period saw the rise of regional political parties in many states of country. This was also the beginning of the era of coalition governments. So at that time, the coalition government formation starts. I already told you what was coalition government, but let's see again in the glossary. A government formed by coming together at least of two political parties, usually partners in coalition, form a political alliance and adopt a common program. So there is some set of rules which both the parties need to obey, and they both can rule together on a single on a single unit. Since no single party got a clear majority in Lok Sabha, the major national parties had to enter into an alliance with many parties, including several regional parties, to form a government at the center. This led to a new culture of power sharing and respect for the autonomy of state governments. So it was a new formation which was due to coalition government. So if now any opposite party in central government and state government, and if it is in coalition with the another favorable party of state government, then there will be no such domination, because both the parties are ruling together. So no such domination is imposed on the state government. This trend was supported by a major judgment of Supreme Court that made it difficult for the central government to dismiss the state government in an arbitrary manner. Earlier, the state government was usually dismissed because they were having less powers, it was thought to be, but now it is not like that. Thus, federal power sharing is more effective today than it was in early years after Constitution came into force. So now as Constitution is coming into the force, federal power is more effective. So this we see, and here some cartoons are given. The first cartoon you can see is how the states are pleading for more powers that they are demanding over here. Kerala, Madras, Odisha, Bengal, Bihar. These all the state governments are actually demanding the power from the central government. So it is the first cartoon which is showing the domination of the central government over the various state governments. The second cartoon shows that how the coalition government formed has actually promoted the federation policy in our country, and here no such inequalities are done today, and many of these people are now together. So here are the two cartoons that are showing the relationship between center and states. Should the state go to the center with a begging bowl? How can the leader of coalition keep the partners of government satisfied? So these are the both of the cartoons which are giving. For first was the state played for more powers, and second was perils of running a coalition government. So here how the coalition government is run has been shown. Now let's read some of the articles which were noted by historian Ramchandra Guha that appeared in Times of India on November 1, 2006. The first article was the report of States Reorganization Commission, that is SRC, was implemented exactly 50 years ago on November 1, 1956. This in its own time and own way has also transformed the political and institutional life of nation. Gandhi and other leaders promised their followers that when freedom came, the new nation would be based on a new set of provinces, and these based on principle of language. However, when India was finally freed in 1947, it was also divided. So it was the first of the article which was seen. The second was partition was consequence of primordial attachment to one's faith. How many more partitions would their other primordial loyalty language lead to? So ran the thinking of Nehru, Patel and Rajaji. Far from undermining Indian unity, linguistic states have helped strengthen it. It has proved to be perfectly consistent to be Kannadic and Indian, Bengali and Indian, Tamil and Indian, Gujarati and Indian. To be sure, these states based on language sometimes quarrel with one another. So as we say, there are the federation policy, except that some of the states yet have disputes among them. While these disputes are not petty, they could in fact have been far worse, like we see in the case of Belgium as well as in Sri Lanka, how Sri Lanka led to a civil war. It is the formation of linguistic states that has allowed India to escape what might have been worse fate still if the sentiments of the native speaker of Telugu, Marathi, etc. all had been disregarded. What we might have there here was one language, 14 or 15 nations. Students, these are all the articles which we are reading. It is due to the fact that now in the current times in the board examinations, based on the cartoons characters or based on these articles, any questions can be framed. So we cannot say that what things can come in the democratic politics or any other subject. So that's why there is a much need to read these articles. That's all for the day. Thank you and have a nice day.